Murphy asks, how did you approach the talk with your kids? Well, interestingly, I recorded it. I recorded my talk. Let's just break the seal. I'm gonna play.
But when you do this, then my story will not be as good. So I should tell my story.
You wanna tell your story first?
Okay. Yeah, because I mean, you've got a freaking recording.
I'm not gonna play the whole talk. I was gonna
talking to Locke.
Just get into the conversation with it, but go ahead.
Yeah, so before we play your recording, which cannot be topped, I'll just go ahead and give a precursor. I remember Chrissy and I decided, hey, we need to talk to the kids about sex. I mean, the older kids, Lily and Lincoln. Lando was too young to have like a detailed conversation of anything of that nature. But we were sitting down at the dinner table, and I don't know if we had agreed that this was the particular time. I think I just brought it up. I was like,
dinner table, huh?
Yeah, we had eaten dinner, and then the table was cleared, and then I like gave Christy a look, if I remember correctly.
You did a sex talk as a family?
Yes.
Without Lando being there?
Yeah, I think Lando was dismissed from the table. He wasn't there. Even if he was there, I don't think he would have cared. So yeah, Lily and Lincoln are 2 years difference. This is when we lived in the old house, the previous house when we had just moved in there. So this might have been, let's see, if this was 8 years ago, they were 10 and 8. So they were probably 9 and 11. Because I know that you told me that Locke was 9 when you had the recorded conversation with him.
2013.
So I'm sure we were talking about it, and I was like, oh shit, I need to have this conversation too. And Chrissy and I were talking about it. Had it at the dinner table. I don't remember how it started because I didn't record it. I wish I would have.
You should have.
Yeah, because you only have, if you do it right, you only have to do it once. That's not actually true.
And then you just play it for your other kids.
That's
right. You just play the recording.
Well, the sex talk is just whatever our approach was, you bring up the topic, and then as much as they're interested and curious, you engage their curiosity and you answer their questions, but you can we knew we would kind of feel out when would be the point where they were no longer interested. And then in subsequent conversations,
and that's when it gets good, when they don't want to hear anymore.
They would get more information. So it was kind of breaking the seal on us being able to talk about sex whenever it needed to come up. It wasn't a one and done deal.
Right, that's a good strategy.
So I know that was our mentality. I can't remember a lot of what we said, but I do remember very early on talking about like the mechanics of a penis goes into a vagina and then a baby is made in the woman, and then it started to make sense. And I do remember using the finger going into the hole created in the fist symbol.
You mean the Eiffel Tower going into the tunnel underneath the English Channel?
Yeah, so
really is what this is.
I made this symbol.
Could it fit? Probably couldn't. I think the Eiffel Tower is way too wide.
I looked over at Christy, and the symbol she was making was palms over face.
Not
pointed towards the kitchen table.
Not what you want to communicate.
Like just like double face palm looking down.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is gonna be awkward, let's go all the way. And so we were talking about it, and then I kind of gave them, Chrissy and I both she kind of clarified and corrected my mistakes. I was probably not right about everything. And then
it's not a finger.
And they weren't saying anything. And then we were like, well, what do you think? Do you have any questions? And there was silence until Lincoln spoke up and said, awkward.
Yeah, I'm sure
that was it. And then it was
but you talking about anything with your family is kind of awkward, much less sex.
Yeah, so I think all of my interactions have felt like a sex talk with my kids.
So how many sex dinners have you had since then?
So I think it again, as we talked about last week, it's more this mentality of like, if sex comes up, the words shouldn't be whispered, and these are legitimate questions. Let's respond to them as you are curious.
Which I think is an excellent approach. I also think
until you get to be a teenager, and then you got to go to a next level. But we can talk about that next.
Also an excellent approach is just to record your talk with your kid. I did this because I thought that it would be funny to listen to later, and here we are, 9 years later.
He did give permission, right?
No. Yeah. Not in the time, but yes, now he has.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying yes. I told Locke that I was going to play a portion of this. He was like, "That's fine." So I do want to preface this by saying, so this is August of 2013, and I'm thinking about where I was at in my spiritual life. 2013 is really the year when I stopped considering myself a Christian. Sort of the end of 2012 was when I was having my most sort of like intense, like I just don't think I can keep believing this fundamentally, like the fundamental underpinnings of Jesus being the Son of God and raising from the dead and all this, and yeah, I've been through that whole story. But kind of what you were saying earlier, a Christian sexual ethic was I hadn't for many years. I'd been uncomfortable with the idea that I was uncomfortable with Christians who believed that, you know, being gay was wrong. That ship had sailed for both of us.
Right.
But still, as I thought about my own kids and I thought about the sex talk, it was very heteronormative. Like, I'm going to talk about a man and a woman, I'm going to talk about a penis and a vagina, and I'm gonna talk about procreation, and that's what the talk's gonna be.
Yeah.
And I'm also gonna say, I'm not gonna play the whole thing, I'm gonna play a couple minutes. It's longer than that, but I also was like, and this is something that you should wait to do until you get married. Like I was still saying those things to Locke at this time 9 years ago when I was presenting this. So I just wanna acknowledge that I think now a sex talk would kind of be like, hey, here's sort of the procreation side of the sex talk and how that works between a penis and a vagina and a sperm and an egg and the uterus and all that stuff. But hey, here's a different conversation or an addendum to that conversation which talks about sexuality and a spectrum and that kind of thing. That wasn't where I was at the time, and so my sex talk reflects that. Just wanted to acknowledge that.
Yep, me too, in the same place.
So I'll just play this. Okay. You told Mom that you wanted to know about how a man and a woman make a baby. Now tell me, what did you say? What are you wondering about?
How they do it. It's not like they can just have one maybe and stuff. Have to form a certain way.
Has to form a certain way.
Form from something.
All right, well, you tell me how you think it works.
When the man and the woman marry somehow, they have a baby.
Well, how do you think it happens?
The DNA mixes from them.
How does that happen?
I don't know.
Pause it.
Just guess.
So basically your sex talk so far with Locke is you trying to get him to tell you how babies are made. Did you not know?
Yeah, I needed to have some help on that.
It's kind of ironic.
Well, my strategy here was, I know I'm recording this, and so this will be a funny way to start it.
Yeah.
To get his perspective, but it also gets him engaged in the conversation, gets him talking.
Yeah.
How would the DNA mix? Because that's kind of true.
And they kiss?
Well, okay.
Some physical reaction?
A physical reaction?
Like some, I have no idea.
I have no idea.
Okay. This is going to blow your mind. Okay?
Okay.
And it may be a little bit embarrassing to talk about, but listen, look at me. You can talk about anything with me, I'm your dad. And I know a lot of things. Okay? Okay, now, you know that you have a penis.
Oh!
It's not funny. You have a penis, right?
Right.
Okay. Do girls have a penis? What do girls have?
They have like...
What do you think they have?
They must have something like a wiener at least.
Well,
at least.
You know how you have a penis, which is like a little finger down there. Do you know what they have?
They have like a hole right there?
Yes. They have a hole called a vagina.
God.
Okay. And the way that God designed this is that when a man and woman get married, they can, well, basically, the easiest way to say this is the man puts his penis,
the finger,
inside
of
the woman's vagina. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? Did you have any idea about this?
No way. I never even thought of this my whole life.
You never thought about this?
I never thought I'd have to go.
Okay. Now listen. When you get older, not right now, but when you get older, there's something other than pee that can come out of your penis. And it's called sperm.
What's sperm?
It has your DNA in it.
Okay, I'm not gonna give you the whole sex talk. Wow, he thought it was hilarious, not awkward, which is great. I mean, you got over. Hey, that was a good job.
And he, like I think, like I said at the beginning, like he had been asking.
I love the fact that you were asking him the questions because once you tell him the answer, you can no longer get the full answer because it's going to be informed by the real answer. So that's the takeaway. If I had to do it again, I would have totally gotten them to commit in the way that you did. Because that was
the reason
great.
We had the talk is because Locke has always been super inquisitive and was asking lots of questions. I mean, there were multiple questions for like multiple months, and Jesse was like, we have to have this talk. And again, as you heard right there, I was like, this is how God designed it, and it's, when a man and a woman are in the context of marriage. I mean, that was, again, I wasn't even calling myself a Christian at that point, but I was still in a place where it's like, I don't have a new way of thinking about this, and so I'm not about to start telling something different to my kids. And Jessie was in a different place as well. She was still calling herself a Christian at that time.
Making it just about how babies are made really simplified it, and it reinforced just the whole heteronormative way of thinking about things that we were, like you said, very much coming out of, but it was like, oh my God, how does it relate to a sex talk was not the first thing we were trying to figure out when you're talking about our eternal destiny, Yeah.
And
it was all happening at the same time. You're right. That was in the thick of it.
Yeah, and then as you think about the shepherd who was 5 years younger, but also very different. He wasn't asking all those questions. And so
my kids never ask any questions.